What's going on YouTube? It's Mr. Ferguson here once again. Welcome back to a beautiful day here in central North Carolina. I hope you're having a fantastic day where you are. I'll tell you what guys, we've been in the 70s. We've been definitely warming up with warmer mornings in the 60s, and my dad was just telling me yesterday he saw on the 7-day forecast we may hit 90 for 2 days coming up this week. So it's just like I told you guys, we have such a brief period of decent 70-degree, nice, enjoyable weather, and we jump straight into almost summer immediately here in North Carolina. It never fails. But thank you for tuning in today. I want to continue our discussion that we talked about on Friday, where I found rust in my lawn. I found fungus, and I want to kind of go over that based on your comments. There's more to be said about this, and so it's that time of year, and so briefly let's get into it. You see I've got some things behind me, but I want to go a little more in depth about what we talked about on Friday, and that is the fungus that we found here in my own tall fescue lawn. So to be perfectly clear, honest, and open with you guys, clearly when it comes into this time of year, we're going to be able to see in a tall fescue lawn, we're going to find fungus more than likely. If you escape any type of disease in your tall fescue lawn, then you're doing really well, especially if you're not providing any type of fungicides to your lawn, and you escape all types of fungus, then you've made it. But doing that year after year, chances are you're going to end up with something like rust. You're going to end up with something like dollar spot, and these things can spread. It can tear down all the overseeding you did in the lawn previously. It can thin out our lawn. That's one of the threats of rust. I saw a lot of people say, it's just rust, it's harmless. Well, NC State don't say that, and I want to talk about rust real fast specifically. And we haven't talked in depth about a fungus. We haven't talked in depth about dollar spot or brown patch on this channel, but we're going to go in depth about rust because we found it here in my lawn. And again, I'm a different type of YouTuber out there where I'm not here just going to preach to you guys random topics. Let's talk about, ground pearls in Bermuda lawns. Like, there's no reason for me to have a concern on that because I don't deal with Bermuda. I'm showing you what I've got. I show you guys the applications that I apply. You're doing exactly what I did. I was tuned into GCI Turf because they're in North Carolina. This is a professional guy named Pete. He's been in lawn care for several years longer than me, so he's going to teach me, and I clung to him and I listened, and I still try to do that. So I want to go to the experts at NC State at their turf extensions, and I looked up rust in turf. So what is it? And this I was reading several articles, but I don't like to go to people that are giving their opinions. I would rather go to people I know are experts, and I'll go down to Raleigh here where NC State is. Early symptoms include small yellow flecks that develop on the leaves and stems. That's exactly what we've seen in my lawn. Here are some pictures of what we saw in case you're like, what are you talking about? I didn't see Friday's video, so I don't know what you're saying. Well, go back and watch it, but here is what rust looks like. This is what we saw in my lawn. And also at the end of this, at the bottom of this article, they show you what rust looks like according to NC State. And maybe I'll put 1 or 2 pictures here from NC State to show you it is 100% exactly the same thing. So what is rust? The symptoms is that yellowing color. The flecks expand over time into raised pustules, I guess is what it's saying, yellow or orange in color, that rupture to release powdery masses of spores. Infected plants become yellow and more susceptible to environmental stress. Let me say that again. Infected plants become yellow and are more susceptible to environmental stress. So it's not just, it's just rust, it doesn't harm our grass. It can. If it is not treated, it can hurt. It can thin out, and they say that in here. Heavily infected areas become thin and exhibit clouds of orange dust, quote, rust spores, when the foliage is disturbed. Somebody, I believe Michelle or somebody said, I've got this in my lawn. When I'm mowing, powdery orange stuff is all over my mower and my shoes. This is exactly what they said. If this is heavily infected areas become thin, that means this type of fungus, specifically rust, is not just harmless. When it affects our grass, it can thin out the grass. It can kill all that overseeding you just did in fall. If you're finding March or April rust and you don't treat it and you're like, oh, it's just rust, man, whatever, then it can thin out your lawn. All that overseeding was wasted. You just wasted all that money on seed to allowing a fungus to thin out your lawn. Developing factors. Okay, so what are the factors that determine how do I get rust in my lawn? This is what I'm paying attention to. How did I get this? What mistakes did I make? Well, rust fungi survive the winter in living plant tissue from which new spores are produced in the spring. Spores produced in the spring, summer, and fall are spread by the wind, germinate on the leaves, and infect new tissue. It has been the most windiest 3 or 4 weeks here in North Carolina that I can remember. I believe wind, absolutely. Whether it's from other lawns that had rust and it's now infected mine, wind plays a part. I believe this. It has been very windy here. If you're seeing it in your lawn, calculate in your mind how windy has it been where you are. Secondly, rust diseases are most severe in turf that is growing slowly due to adverse weather conditions or inadequate management, low light intensity, inadequate fertilization, drought stress, and infrequent mowing encourage rust development. So this is crucial. When I read this, I was like, bingo. So number one, if you have shady areas that are low light, then you can definitely begin to get fungus in those areas. So you should be aware of that. So check your shady areas. Number two, inadequate fertilization. Now, we have applied fertilizer here in my lawn, although I just mentioned several videos back, this is the lowest amount of nitrogen I put in my lawn. I was like, hey, let's go low nitrogen this year. I'm not looking to mow crazy. So let's do that. Well, according to NC State, if you don't fertilize, inadequate fertilization can add to rust or fungus, because when the blades aren't growing, it has time to just sit. You're not mowing frequently, it can be a problem. Now, that's not saying that, oh, Mr. Ferguson, you got to douse this thing, but you got to be super high. You need to put 2 pounds worth of nitrogen in your lawn. No, that's not what I'm saying. Please don't exaggerate what I'm saying. If you haven't applied it, if you're like, I don't feel like fertilizing this year, according to NC State, you're susceptible to something like rust or fungus in your lawn. Inadequate mowing, infrequent mowing encourage rust development. If you're not mowing frequently, which also kind of ties into fertilizing, right? When we fertilize, our grass grows faster. We got to mow more. It sucks. We got to get outside. Sometimes it's hot, but according to them, that can also encourage specifically rust development. Water deeply, but infrequently to encourage deep rooting and reduce drought stress and extend periods of leaf wetness. Avoid watering the turf before sunset or after sunrise. So water in the middle portions of the day. If you have irrigation with your tall fescue or ryegrass or Kentucky bluegrass, having a swampy lawn, turning that sucker on every day with your well water and watering your grass every day. When you think you're helping it, you're actually bringing fungus in. Moist, wet leaves constantly are going to attract these spores. You want to do a one time during the day watering deeply so it gets watered in. Turn it off. Don't do it before sunrise or in the evening. Then it goes into chemical control. Fungicides can be used on a preventative or curative basis for rust control. Susceptible turfs should be monitored regularly for rust development during periods of cool and cloudy weather. And in here, they talk about azoxystrobin. They talk about several, and if I've put it on the screen, here's the list. It is a massive list of fungicides, but the most effective via my conference at NC State is azoxystrobin and propiconazole. Not using one and then another, but both of them, and we're going to talk about that next. So that is the article from NC State. So I didn't want to just come on here and make a video giving you my opinion of, oh, this is just what I think you should do. When you see rust, as someone said in the comments incorrectly, oh, there's fungus, I need to go spray chemicals. That is that is the wrong way to look at it. Number one, you need to identify it. Being that I've had rust in my lawn before, I knew immediately that what it was. When I was doing a post-mow video, I don't have time to explain all of the stuff we're going to talk about today in a 12-minute video. That's why we're kind of doing part 2 today. So number one, you want to identify it. We know rust. So now that we know rust is not just a harmless fungus. Sure, it's not going to eat away at your grass completely and you're just going to melt your whole lawn. But when not treated, it will, number one, spread. It will get worse and it will thin out your lawn. And that grass may or may not come back. So you do need to look at it. You do need to treat it. it. Someone else talked about, well, it's not pet safe, it's not pet friendly. Well, actually, propiconazole says it is pet safe. Once we apply it as the label directs, it is pet safe. So you need to check that out on domyown.com. Read the product description. It will tell you it is actually pet safe. I looked up natural fungicides before I came on to make this video. I didn't see anything besides they said baking soda with another formula is something that can be a possibility. But when we're not just putting chemicals down in our lawn, guys, just because, you know, I hate the earth. Like, please don't get me wrong. When we have a fungus in our lawn, you can just let that fungus run wild and say, well, I just want to go natural, so I'm just going to let it tear my grass up. Well, you can go that route. Guess what? I'm not. Last I checked, this is still America, and when I have a disease, I go to the hospital to get a medication most of the time, with praying as well, to cure the disease, right? So when I see disease in my lawn, number one, identify it. What is it? Number two, do a little bit of research, like I've dug in a little more about rust based on some of your comments. The second thing I want to go into is why it's so important to have a lawn care plan. I made this little book. This is my original Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut Lawn Care Plan, and I am going to give you just one page of his strategy here, because the comment really bugs me when people say in the comment section, man, you see some fungus and it's nothing to worry about and you just throw chemicals in your lawn. That's not what we're doing, guys. There is a reason for the madness. Now, being that I only had propiconazole, what did I do? I applied propiconazole, which is a group 5 fungicide. Now, when we identify what the fungus is, now we have to see which group fungicide will treat this. Well, if you go according to the prevention, and this is why I said, oops, I messed up. Would have had azoxystrobin and propiconazole on hand, and I would have been proactive and not having too much on my plate, and would have preventatively put an application of fungicides in my lawn, this rust likely would have never popped up. But that's what the oops was all about. That's why I screwed up. I knew I was going to catch fungus because I knew I was behind, and I kept putting off getting the fungicide in my hands. Now I have, just as I told you guys I was going to do it, I put in an order to GCI Turf for some fungicides, and I also got me some more CK on the way, should be arriving today. But in Alan Hain's strategy here, he talks about that. And if I would have followed what I've learned in the beginning, we got to go back to the book sometimes, to the fundamentals, this likely wouldn't have prevented. So here's what he says. Have you heard of the bulletproof strategy that comes from him? Here's what it says. First, apply Scott's Disease X. What is that? That's azoxystrobin in the granular form that I told you about from Scott's Disease X, 3 pounds per 1,000. This is a group 11 fungicide, and it is very same thing that is more expensive professional formula called Heritage. So he's giving you the insider scoop there. Don't go buy the expensive Heritage when you can go buy Scott's Disease X. It's the same formula. 7 days or so later, apply a group 5 fungicide and apply it as a liquid. Easiest way to go, Bio-Advanced hose in at any big box stores, and it shows you right there, fungus control. This is propiconazole in a hose-in bottle that you can get from Lowe's. If you don't want to buy from Mr. Ferguson's links, go to the box store, get you Scott's Disease X, get you the Bio-Advanced fungus control. Look on the ingredients, propiconazole. Those are the 2 items that I would suggest as well, because it does work when we do it properly. I was susceptible and I've been hit with the fungus, and now I got to put down more product to cure it. But why did I want to read this? Or you can apply 3 ounces of propiconazole, the liquid, and don't water this in right away. Let it set for 24 hours or so. From there, you can reapply the propiconazole again in 30 days, and you should be okay. This strategy uses 2 modes of action for fungus prevention, and really should be fine for 90% of you reading this. If you have turf-type tall fescue, this is a very good strategy to prevent brown patch. For Kentucky bluegrass and rye, it's great for dollar spot, red thread, or brown patch too. So I wanted to read that because he's talking about the different groups of fungicide. We're not just grabbing chemicals and throwing it down saying this will resolve all my problems. No, propiconazole is only a group 5. We also need to apply a group 11, and you're putting down chemicals for the sake of prevention and curing from the wide spectrum range to prevent fungus from coming in. That's why we put the links below. That's why we talk about, and you hear about Azoxy and Propy all the time. You don't have to do this. This is what I told you in the very first year. I said, I'm not buying in. These are scams. This guy, Alan Hain, he just wants my money. I'm not doing the whole fungicide thing. I've got the grass, it's green. I put all the money in the starter fert. I did all the growing it. I've watered it. I don't need all that mess. I'll be good. And then I got hit with rust, and then it spread. And I was like, and I freaked out. And I said, what do I do? And I filmed it. And I still got that video, I think. And it was spreading throughout my lawn, and my lawn looked terrible. Now, as some of you rightly mentioned, it's not that it's not harmful, but it's got to be dealt with. It won't just go away on its own. Nitrogen, a little bit of nitrogen to grow it out. NC State talked about that. I think I skipped over it, but applying nitrogen, fertilizing properly, and then also treating it properly with propiconazole and Disease X. Now, we can specifically look up rust and see which group fungicide will control rust. Propiconazole covers that, luckily. So when I looked up propiconazole, rusts are listed. So this propiconazole hopefully will stop the infiltration, the spread, and we'll be good to go. But Azoxy is coming, and I'm going to apply that because that's a group 11 fungicide. If I get hit with another fungus that is not in the range of group 5, it's in a group 11, then I'm susceptible because I have no prevention for that. Do you see what I'm saying here? So we're not just putting chemicals down just to do it. We're doing it to protect our lawn, protect our investment, and to make the lawn look good. So let's go over here to see what we're going to be mixing today. Today's a longer video, but I think it's necessary, and I think it's great information to empower you and to encourage you to make up your mind on how you want to go about. But let's look at what we're going to go over with and spray real quick today. Right, so hopefully you can get the full picture here with this camera set up. We've got some products over here. We got the backpack sprayer out. As we read, one of the things that will promote rust, I don't want it to keep coming back. Even if I cure it and it grows out, if we're not preventing from here forward, as I mentioned, and if we're not taking the advice, somebody said it on the Golf Channel, actually. I was watching Golf Channel coverage. They're like, if you keep doing the same thing, you should expect the same results. So if I keep doing the same thing, I should expect the same results. You've got to implement change if you need something to change. And he's talking about the golf swing. Well, the same is true. I believe this year, one of the things that I have done, that I know I've done, is number one, I haven't mowed as frequently. That's one of the factors. Number two, I've not used as much nitrogen. Typically, we was going off last year on that humic-coated urea from the Andersons. So we've only put down a very small application of Flagship, and then we did 5 ounces per 1,000 about 2 weeks ago or so of the GCI 2000. So I haven't been, and I meant to calculate that before coming. I apologize that I haven't, but we're going to do a little bit more nitrogen today to promote a little bit more growth. I believe that'll be great for the fungicides I applied this past week. And also we're going to go in there. I'm just going to go ahead and mix the Tall Star. We talked about this on a previous video about protecting your lawn from bugs and insects. If you have ants, fire ants, I highly encourage you to go watch that video. Many people have found this. They are witnesses. This stuff works. And then also, as I mentioned in the last video when we did our fungicides application, the natural adjuvant from peat. This is a great product. I've just started using it, I believe last year, if not the year before. I've read up on it from Pete. Now, here's the thing. If you think, well, this is some more snake oil, I'm not listening to you. He's just promoting GCI and Pete's thing. He's got the GCI shirt. He's just a GCI fanboy. Well, that's not necessarily true. Pete has this shipped to him by the pallet for his business. This is what he's applying in the lawns that he manages over in central North Carolina. He's using this stuff in the lawns that he manages. So when a business owner is investing heavily in a product, that gets my attention. He's not just saying, hey, try this, buy it from me as a salesman. He's putting it and doing this in the lawns of his business. So I listen to that. One of the benefits, just quickly, it helps open up our plant, basically in layman's terms of what I know. It opens up the grass plant to be able to absorb the product you're putting down more efficiently and more rapidly. In this case, fungicide last time, this case it's going to be the fertilizer. It's going to instantly absorb this and begin to take it into the plant. It also helps with water retention. We talked about this last summer. I believe using this in my lawn, I keep looking at Pete's lawn in the summer and was like, man, how does he not have to water every day? Maybe he is, but it doesn't seem like it. He's using the natural adjuvant, and this also promotes keeping your lawn hydrated. Lastly, when we're using something like fertilizer, you don't have to use the max amount. You can use the lower amount, and the effectiveness of the adjuvant helps you to lose the minimum rates of the product that you're putting down. whether it's fungicides or whether it's fertilizer, you can put down minimal amount, the minimum amount, and it's just effective as using the high amount. I'm going to mix it up real fast, and because I didn't show you last time, we're going to go ahead and mix up probably about 5 ounces per thousand of the GCI again, just a little bit of nitrogen for the lawn, and then I'm going to throw in some Tall Star, and then we'll come back and I'll show you if you choose to purchase the natural adjuvant, it will come with a pH meter, and you'll have to get some citric acid. I'll show you why you'll need that in just a second. All right, guys, so we've got our GCI 2000 fertilizer mixed in here. We've also got our Tall Star in here. Now, I will say you may want to separate these. I'm just doing this out of quickness and convenience, but you may want to do your Tall Star app separately. That way you can coat, like if you've got a slab foundation like me, I like to spray this on the rocks. I like to spray this on, the side of the house. It doesn't stain and it keeps the bugs away, right? I'm mainly going to just hit this now in the lawn because we got fertilizer in here. So now, to get this fertilizer in our grass even more quickly and efficiently, we're going to be using, as I showed you, the Natural Adjuvant O2YS Natural Adjuvant. You can get this in the link below from GCI Academy. That's where it's linked to. It gets right out to you. They have 8-ounce bottles. This is a quart. They've got pints all the way up to as big of a size as you want. So the first thing, you don't just pour this in. They're going to send you, hopefully, with your purchase, you're going to get one of these pH meters. And so they've changed this. It was different over the years. But number one, you're just going to turn it on, and it's going to give us a reading. Let me see if you can see that on the side. That the reading currently says 11.34. So we're going to check, and this is going to be based on your city water, your well water. Your pH is going to alter. So the goal is we need to get this mixture under 5 pH. So let's go in. We're checking it. Give it a second, come back up. It's saying 7.74. That's actually not really bad. We just need to go down a little bit. So how do we go about doing that? Well, we're going to use what they also send you. You may have to buy this separately. I'm not sure. I can't remember when it came to me, but the citric acid is the citric acid you can buy. You may see this. This is the purpose of it being on the GCI site. 100% citric acid. So this is going to obviously lower our pH. Guess what? If your pH in your lawn is high, citric acid is going to lower it. So we're just going to add a little bit in here and check again. Now, if you're like, screw it, I'm just going to dump a whole lot because I don't feel like going back and forth and back and forth. I get it. But we're just going to dump a little bit here. Sprinkle a little bit of citric acid in here. Next step, we want to mix that up, clearly. We don't want to just do that on the top. So you want to make sure that you mix it up. If you don't have a stir, then you may want to pick it up, shake it, do the shake drill. But you want to mix that citric acid up. You don't want to just measure the top, right? We just put it in. That would be a mistake. We want to mix that up all over the best that we can. Now that we've mixed it in, we're showing 4.96 on the pH, 5. It's bouncing back and forth. Let's go down. See what it says. All right, well, the devil's number, 666. Oh, it just changed to 6.7. So it went down a little bit, but apparently I didn't put enough in there. And let's go with a little more. Now that felt like a very hefty amount right there. Let's mix this in. We are talking about 4 gallons worth of product here. Turn it back on. We're going back in. And there we go. We are good to go now. So now we are, let me see if I can make sure y'all can see it. Now you see we're at 4.66. So that dropped it down under 5. We are now good to go. And now we will add our natural adjuvant, a total of 4 ounces. And I've only got a little bit left. It looks like it's about 4 ounces. So I'm just going to put the remaining amount in here. And I don't have my small measure cup either. So I'm going to do a sin and eyeball it. That looks like, and there's not even enough to store. So we're just going to dump that in. Yeah, I need to buy my own. I'm going to use my own links today. And that's it. Now, once we dump that in, we want to stir it up again and mix your backpack sprayer, and you're good to go. I hope that helps you. If you're interested in the natural adjuvant, that link is below. If you're interested in the GCI 2000, that link is below. If you're interested in the article about rust from NC State, I will link that below as well. And we can also put Tall Star down there. There's a ton of links. Hit the more button, look in the description, you'll see them down there. It helps support the channel and also helps you. I've got Azoxystrobin, I've got Propiconazole coming. I hope this video, we've not done a long one in a while. I know people complain about it. I'm not gonna make this a habit, but I felt like we needed to kind of discuss rust, you know, and get involved in giving more details about this, as well as prevention and how we go about doing that. Identification is definitely important, as well as treatment, but you can prevent it and avoid all this and save a lot of money too, which I should have done in the beginning. But God bless you. I hope you have a fantastic Monday. Enjoy the week. If you're in North Carolina, embrace the heat. And we'll see you next time with another lawn care video. God bless you guys.